client calls me right away, I'm like, hey, they're like, hi, like you, and they could be the most serious people, but I don't want them to have it be serious all the time. You know, we can have some fun. Like, I'm very good at my job. I'm very professional. You'll always get, I always try to do the right thing with my clients. If they're doing something wrong, I'll tell them. If they're doing something right, I'm going to tell them. But it's good to be positive, and just also with connecting people, just, again, it's not asking for anything in return. I hate when people say, oh,
I'm Farah Shamas. Welcome to Hotel Talk. We hope you enjoy listening to this friendly conversation between people connected by real life in hotels. Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited because today I have with us a PR branding marketing expert, along with a million other things. It's the founder of LΩRA PR, and of course, it is a Laura Neroulias Bisiotis or Bisiotis.
No.
Her husband's actually Greek, and we're going to have him on the podcast as well. But Laura, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
So Laura and I met not in San Rafael, actually, in another hotel with the Cyprus Diaspora Forum. Yes. She's since had a baby, came back again, and we were like, we have to do a podcast together. So she's all the way from America, and I'm going to let her tell us about you.
Well, thank you for having me. I am a Cypriot American, first generation. My mother's from Cyprus, and she would bring me to Cyprus every year. So my love of Cyprus runs very deep from an early age.
Your mom's from which part?
Nicosia.
So
she grew up in the 60s and 70s, went to the prominent English school. And then in the 70s, my father, who's Greek American, actually, he was working in Cyprus.
And was he born in Greece or in America?
He was born in Greece, but then came to America at 13 years old. Okay. So he considers himself more Greek American. He assimilated, very quickly, learned the language, went to school, went to the U.S. Army, went to Vietnam. After all of that, he actually got a job in Cyprus. And he met my mother. And literally, it was like 1, 2, 3, engagement, wedding, and then he swooped her.
These love stories.
The 70s in Cyprus.
If you ever read a novel with all of these facts, you heard it here first.
Absolutely. And then he swooped her away to America, to New York. They had my sister and then me. And my mom, honestly, she didn't really like America. She wasn't used to it. The culture shock was a bit much for her. So she was like, you know what, we're going to Cyprus every year. Like, we have to go. It's a priority. My kids have to know where we're from. They have to know Yaya and Papu and, the cousins. And
I think especially girls have that connection with their parents and their roots.
Yeah. My mom was such a daddy's girl. Such a daddy's girl.
Yeah. And it's just like we say here, okay, we're a small island, so we always laugh that we need to get out and breathe and then come back in. But to be honest, when you're out of Cyprus, you also need the breath is to come here.
You need to come back. I mean, she missed it so much, and I feel for her now, like thinking about it. And it was a priority. She wanted to come back. She wanted us to know the country where she grew up. The cousins, it's a big, all the family is here in Cyprus from her side. So we came here every year. She sent us to camp every year in Rhodos. I was part of the hospitality program. So my love of Cyprus was not because I was told to love Cyprus, but it was all the experiences and all the memories.
Well, you're going to love your holiday.
I mean, that too. Anyway. The 2 months in Cyprus didn't hurt.
Good weather, and then you come back and everybody's here spoiling you.
I know. All the food and like hanging out with Yaya and the cousins. And then when you get a little bit older, it's like, you're going out now and you're meeting people more and more
freedom, because our parents gave us so much freedom then because it was so safe.
Oh my gosh. I would walk downtown by myself, Nicosia. I would go to Limassol. I would go to, it was take the taxis by myself.
Yeah.
It was just it was just different back then. It was just such it was so free. It was so free back then. And then, I would go back to New York, and I went to university in upstate New York. I started the Greek club up there. I was a cheerleader in college. I was always trying to be like a positive.
It's like the American dream.
I know.
Tell us about cheerleading, because we don't have this in Europe. My sister went to an American school, and I was always fascinated when she brought home friends who were cheerleaders.
If I could have been a professional cheerleader, I would have. I mean, I grew up watching.
You have to be really good at gymnastics, I take it, because that you are
very fit.
You are literally, but loads of people can say they're fit, but it's a different thing to do like a flip or the splits.
Exactly. So I grew up doing gymnastics.
Okay.
And then high school, it wasn't that competitive.
And singing, because it's all like, give me a. Woo.
I mean, I knew. No, you have to. The secret is you have to like eat a lemon. And so your voice can be really hoarse so that you could be really strong with your projection.
Oh my God, I miss my calling. Yeah. I mean, I have the huskiest voice, but I can't do the splits.
It was, listen, in high school, I was not competitive, but then in college, I truly was. And I think, looking back at my career, I do PR and I'm always about cheering people on and being positive. I think that's like, where it was kind of all started. Yeah. And working in team, when you're a cheerleader, you have to be in teams. Like you have to trust each other, and they would throw me in the air and they would have to catch me, and you just have to have this immense trust and communication skills.
I love that.
And my dad always said, I wish, he had printed this article out for me when I was in high school. He goes, you should go into the army because you're so good with communicating. You know how to, organize things. Like, you know how to, set teams up. I was like, the army? No, I mean, I want to be a cheerleader. I want to go do business. I want to do psychology. I want to, totally different. But, I did that for many years. And then when I graduated college, I was originally going to go into real estate because I had my license. And again, it was kind of this social aspect of, finding people their dream homes and talking with people and open, it was just the thing.
It is nice. I mean, it is nice.
It just was scary to me thinking it was 2007, 2008. The markets were a little shaky in New York. And I was just like, the only way I'll get the only way I can make any money is through commissions. And that's a bit scary, when you're just out of college.
Yeah, when you don't have that base comfort zone salary.
And it was actually in college, the senior year, one of the last practices in cheerleading, one of the girls on the team said, you should really do PR. I was like, I know event planning, I know events, I know that, but I don't even, back then in 2007, the internet wasn't really, there wasn't that much information on it. There was no social media. So I kind of looked into it. And after university, I got my first job in PR on Wall Street. It was more financial PR. And then I was taking classes at night at Fashion Institute of Technology to get more into the celebrity fashion scene. And then the crash happened. And we all lost our jobs. I had to go into bartending, 2 different places. I had to
which is also an amazing life experience. Yeah. And again, it's people, it's hospitality, it's a lot of work.
And I bartended in college too. I think that was part of my being social and being around people. I loved it. And so I was bartending, a couple of nights a week. I was interning at all these fashion PR companies. I was just trying to make it. I finally got my break after interning and was able to work with some pretty magnificent brands and celebrities. I launched the Kardashians during Fashion Week with BB. I worked with Russell Simmons. I was working with Forever 21, Cynthia Rowley, Vera Wang. So my first 10 years in New York City was really fast-paced Fashion Week, celebrities, nationwide tours. It was incredible. And at one point I was like, there's got to be more, because I'm in my 20s. I'm going to turn 30 soon. I'm single. Like, what else can I do? Should I go to Cyprus? Should I go to Greece?
What bored you about it? Because is it that you felt you hit kind of the top of your game? You did it all? Or was it just that actually this is a bit superficial for me? I want to make more of an impact?
A little bit of everything. So it just kind of became textbook everything. Yeah. Like, okay.
Is it the same like billboards, radio?
Yeah, it's like the same. You're pitching the same editors. You're pitching the same, collaborations, and back then social media was just kind of getting started in 2012, 2013. So, okay, that was exciting because now we're pitching bloggers and mommy bloggers, travel bloggers, fashion bloggers. But, I feel like I was just getting bored. I was doing the same thing every day, going to work, same train. I was very involved in the Cypriot community. I had started the Cypriot Young Professionals of the Cyprus-U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So that was exciting. But then again, it was just, seeing the same people over and over again. I just wanted to get out. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something exciting. And so it was, do I go to Cyprus? Do I go to Greece? Do I go to London? Do I go to LA? And for some reason, I landed in Miami. And it came out of nowhere. It honestly came out of my godmother lives in Miami. I think it's an interesting town. I've been like once or twice. Let me just take a few more trips. Let me try and meet people. And I just started networking, like crazy networking. I was coming down. I was on LinkedIn. I was emailing. I was setting up interviews back to back to back. I eventually, after about a year and a half, got 2 really solid offers that I liked. I picked one, came on down to Miami. After 6 months, I was like, maybe that wasn't the best decision. Let me go to the other offer. And I was there for about 5-6 years at that agency.
Because we always, I mean, okay, as a non-American, like European and Mediterranean, we think, oh, Miami's so pretty.
Yeah.
But I think it's got quite a rep as like retirement.
So when you go a little bit more north, maybe more towards Palm Beach, yes, for sure. And that's where I kind of now that I'm a mom and I've settled
Definitely
down.
not retiring, but yeah.
I'm now actually closer to Palm Beach, but I'm always in Miami. I mean, it's still, especially after COVID or during COVID, really, it was a lot of action. I opened up 2 restaurants in 2020, which was like the COVID year. It's still fast paced. It's still booming. A lot of investments, a lot of people coming from Europe. It's a really fast paced town. It's still really exciting, but there's so many people now there. Like all these little hidden gems are no longer hidden. All these big skyscrapers are now there. It's still really exciting, but I wanted to move to Miami because I wanted to do hotels. I wanted to work with real estate developers. I wanted to do restaurants. And I wanted to take all my fashion experience and put that into those types of clients, which was very cool and unique because I had a different perspective.
So much that overlaps. Like totally. I always say that with fashion and hospitality, how much.
Yeah, you just, I brought in new ideas. I brought in different types of partnerships and collaborations. I brought in celebrities. I brought in it was a great, 5-6 years I was working the agencies in Miami. I'm really proud of the work I did. I mean, I really helped a lot of clients and, I just had a lot of fun with it.
And you see, everyone, there's always a hotel connection. I love this. I love this.
I love hotels.
That's why it's Hotel Talk. Everyone has a connection with the hotels.
Absolutely.
So tell us about PRing for hotels. Like, what are they looking for? What do you normally suggest?
Well, I always start with their goals. So first, whenever I go into a meeting, I'm like, what is your goal? Is your goal to sell the hotel? Is the goal to expand the hotel? Is there a renovation in the horizon? Is it to bring more F&B? What are the target markets? And then from there, I always will create the PR plan. So usually I'll do a plan 3 to 6 months, at a time.
I love that. We were discussing this on another podcast with Natalie Boggins about being in the gym. And I said, Arnold Schwarzenegger always says, you go to a gym and all these people are like running around, not knowing what they're doing, but they have to know what their goal is. And then they tailor what they're doing towards that. Yeah. And this transpires again into all life. Like you're saying, you can do PR for 1 million people, but what is your goal? Because there's so many different avenues. And people are lost, I think, when they think of PR.
It's so simple because I had done fashion for so long. And everyone's like, how are you going to transition? I'm like, it's easy. You just have to figure out what the goal is. And then you find your way through the different types of writers or the different types of partnerships you want to do. I mean, it's the same types of conversations. You're just adapting, a different type of industry. So I always start with the goals. I'll do the PR plans, and then I work with the clients to make sure, is this working? Are you seeing, the results that you want? Let's switch it up. I have zero ego. I want to make sure that everyone is happy. If a plan didn't work, that's okay. Let's try something else. If something unexpectedly happens, I'm always readily available to, switch it up and just change the radio station, as I say. Let's just change the radio station. Let's put the new cassette in and let's do something new now.
I mean, you must have, in general, not just hotels, but clients who need new images or to rebrand themselves. And actually, I was just in London at a conference and I met a branding expert he was laughing. I can't tell you my clients. I think they were more like royalty and top people. But he was like, people that have got themselves in quite a pickle, he said. I am there to
I've done a lot of crisis management. I've done a lot.
Tell us about that. I don't know if you can say any names.
I can talk top line about it.
Yeah. Or like examples of, what's gone massively wrong. Yeah, I just met Sarah Ferguson. She's written a book about you know, like a mistake she made, she regretted it, but it blew so massive out. She
it's
had
about
to rebrand.
owning it, in my opinion. You know, when a crisis happens, and a crisis can be very small or very big, sometimes you can't anticipate it and sometimes you can. So another thing that I do when I start a new client, or even my regular clients, is there anything I should expect working together that maybe isn't public or is about to be public
or could come
up? Please, off the record, let's have a very honest conversation, because I need to know what to prepare for. I always like to prepare for the worst and expect the best.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll say, yep, this is what's going to happen, or this is what might be in the pipeline. And usually what happens is, okay, do we want to be proactive, put together a statement? Are we going to be reaching out to the media? Is it going to be more of a social media, announcement? Do we have to bring the lawyers in? You know, who do we have? Like, how do we have to like team up the army, basically. And sometimes the biggest thing is you just have to be proactive about it as much as possible. And when it's an unexpected crisis, you just have to be on it. You cannot let it sit.
So tell us about either clients you've had or people you've seen on media dealing with something like that, where you've been like, oh, or like they dealt with it well, or they should have done.
I mean, it's usually the worst thing you can say is no comment.
Yeah.
That is or just, like, I'm just cringing at thinking of the thought when they were like, oh, that person wasn't available to be reached, when you see that.
Yeah.
And I think in my head, oh my gosh, the publicist is probably scrambling to try to get the client's attention, to try and approve a statement or try to see what's going on.
Well, sometimes though, they might make more of a mess. That's why they have to do the no comment.
That too, crisis has to be done very delicately. There are PR firms that just handle crisis too.
I don't want to mention names, but there's a very famous Greek singer. Some of you might know the story, but his manager, agent, the guy who found him, wouldn't let him speak for like the first couple of years, like literally.
Got a media train.
Because he was like, he would just come out with like stupidities basically, and just be like, you're not speaking. This is the image. You smile, you look beautiful,
just
you
smile
sing. And only after he educated him and did everything was he allowed to do interviews and stuff.
I media train too. Yeah. So the good and the bad. Clients that want to be in the news, sometimes they just focus on the product, focus on the property, focus on the programming, focus on that. But sometimes they want to be an image. They want to have their quotes in the newspapers.
Yeah.
And so we need a spokesperson. I also always ask, who's a spokesperson? Do you want a spokesperson? Some clients say it's a company policy. We don't want anyone on record. But then what ends up happening is that if a media comes in and asks a question, that person goes on record without knowing that maybe they're being quoted. So I always say, okay, who's going to be the spokesperson? Is it the CEO? Is it the managing director? Is it, the F&B director? And usually we'll just media train types of questions that will be asked, how to answer a question you don't know, which is really important. It's okay to not always know the answer to. You can easily just say, that's a great question. Let me get back to you on that.
Yeah. That's what I tell our team. I'm like,
and it's okay to not know.
That's all right. If a guest asks you something and you're like, oh,
don't make it up, don't fake it. Just say like, I'll get back to you. Yeah. That's a great question. And then just make sure you find out what the answer is too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
have you ever had a client that you're like, oh my goodness, I can't do this, or this is like you've just been like, oh, every time they.
After I started my company about 3-4 years ago. And the biggest thing for me was I wanted to work with clients that it wasn't about the money, but it's what I truly actually enjoy either them. I believe in their product. I believe in their ethos. I want to work with them, and I want to wake up every day being really happy to work with them. I've worked with agencies for 20 years, and I was somehow always given the very demanding, difficult clients, but they're difficult because maybe they had a really bad experience with other firms that didn't hear them. And with me, they always felt heard. They always felt understood. And I always say, by connecting, we create a kinder world, because you have to connect with people. You have to understand where they're coming from. If they're stressed out and maybe they're taking it out on you, it might not be because you did something. It's because something is going on, and you have to kind of put yourself in their shoes and see, and then how to deal with it. Don't judge it. Don't judge it. Don't take it personal. In PR, you have to have a very, very, and in hospitality, you have to have a very thick skin. And you just have to understand that the client has a lot rolling on them too. I mean, this is how they pay for their kids' private schools. This is how they're able to afford their mortgage. I mean, you have to really respect that PR does not come cheap. And if people are investing in you, you also have to invest in them as well. So it's really important that you, find a nice balance with clients and you're able to understand where they're coming from and then work with them and don't have an ego, which is the biggest
I love
biggest
that.
thing.
There's a lot to, my goodness, so much there to unpack and that you've said that's so inspiring. So give us the dish and the lowdown on Paris Hilton.
I'm very good friends with her publicist. And so she's Paris is great. She's the sweetest. Anyone I talk to that ever has worked with her or has, been around her, everyone says the same thing. She is the sweetest. She is the nice person. She's so accommodating. She'll talk to any fan. She'll talk to any writer, she's the nicest people. Great energy, no ego. I mean, she's brilliant. I mean, she's truly brilliant. So I'm very good friends with her publicist.
Because from what I've heard, I mean, she's the queen of branding because
absolutely.
She apparently doesn't. Her voice
genius.
is nothing like apparently what she.
No.
So she talks very normally businessy, quite clever.
Yeah.
And then the camera's on, and she's like, and does
she's
the
a
giggles,
genius,
and
guys.
she's just embodied this, beautiful blonde heiress.
Yeah.
As like her image, but she's much more than that behind the scenes.
She's so intelligent.
Yeah.
She is brilliant. She's very smart. It's nice to see her as a mom now too.
Yeah.
It's just she just posted a Mother's Day photo with her sister too and all the kids. She's amazing. So I'm very good friends with her publicist, and because I'm based in Miami, there isn't a lot of, publicists are usually in New York and LA and maybe London and Paris, and but there's not a lot in Miami. So when a celebrity comes into town, most of the time I'll get a phone call. Hey, like my client's in town. Do you mind just like being there for her or showing him around or just, I'm very good at kind of telling people like, like not right now, or maybe ask the last question. Like I'm kind of a good security blanket for the celebrities. I'm very good at step and repeats, like when there's like, moving on to the next. So I've built a lot of really great relationships, and I think a lot of people trust me with their clients. And again, it goes back to connecting and creating a kinder world. I don't ask for anything in return. I'm here to help people. I want people to feel comfortable and they can trust me. And so I'm always up for, you're coming to town. Let me show you around. Let me show you a good time. Or like, what do you need? How can I help you? Who else can I connect you with maybe? So.
That's so nice. Yeah, just being back to being genuine.
Yeah.
Just being genuine,
be a good person.
Authentic.
Just be a good person. We need good people in the world.
I love that. So who has been your mentor? Like, was there someone that you looked up to or you helped you get into it? Or just any like good books or, I don't know, a pivotal moment in your life that...
Honestly, that's a really good question. I think it didn't happen obviously. It happened gradually with my father because my father, I grew up in a very strict Greek household. And I was the youngest. So I got away with a little bit more than my sister, but it was still very strict. And my dad was my Greek school principal. He worked very hard. He would come home and just be exhausted. And there wasn't that I love my dad. I love him so much. But I know that he had also a very stressful work environment, commuting into Manhattan and dealing with what he had to deal with. And also in a way dealing with all the family stuff that goes on with families. And so he was very involved in the Greek American community. He was the president of the Hellenic Chamber. He was the president of the American Hellenic Institute. He would be doing networking events monthly. And I remember the first few times I would go, I didn't know how to network. I was like a 17-year-old girl, scared to talk to anyone. And then through college, I would go to his events. They were monthly. And then after college, and I was working in Manhattan, I would see him, and I would just see these people coming from the airport from Greece, like going to my dad's events with their resumes and asking like, do you know anyone that could hire me? Or like, just my dad would just start connecting people. Like it was like almost like puzzle pieces together. And he was so natural, and he would whether he was talking to a teacher or talking to a lawyer or talking to a government official, he just made everyone feel very comfortable. And I think that's where I got my my skill set, just seeing how he was able to work with people and their different personalities and never make anyone feel like they're lesser than the other. So I think my father is a very important figure in my life. And when I started doing more things with the Cypriot community in New York, I became like the president of the young professionals, the Cypriot Young Professionals. I would tell Baba, like, you have to come to my events. He goes, it's your time now. You have to. And I was like, no, I want you to see.
That's so sweet.
I want you to see like me in action. Like I'm like, with the microphones and everything. But and he came to the forum, the award ceremony, the Cyprus Diaspora Forum ceremony. He was there, and I got my award, and I thanked him just because
He's your daddy.
He's my Baba, and he taught me everything. Now he's Bapu, and we have a little baby named after him, and we're going to continue the legacy of just the greatness that he is. So I think he is definitely a mentor of mine, and I read a lot. I do read a lot, and being in communications, I read a lot of books about different personalities and how to navigate, just the different types of stresses we have in the world. So I read a lot of, self-help books, but in a way it's also not just to make me stronger, but to
Definitely.
also
I think self-help is almost an out-of-date terminology or genre in books, because a lot fall under that category, but really they're more about inspirational books
helps
for living the best version of yourself.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, there's some titles. I mean, I can't say one of them because there's a curse word in it, but and I think you know the book.
Is that the one that was at the end
the
of
orange one? Yeah. But I used to go to Barnes and Nobles in Union Square in Manhattan, and I would read all the magazines because that's how you saw who was writing about different products or different stories. So that's how I used to get editors, to who to pitch. And then it was right next to the self-help book aisle. And I'm like, oh, that's a good book. Or maybe and I have clients that also have written books and I'll read them as well. And it's very inspiring.
Yeah.
It's just good
and
to
you
see
really
different
get to see like into their world.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, it's true. So what's your favorite quote then from?
Definitely by connecting, we create a kinder world.
I love that.
It goes into, again, just putting yourself in someone's shoes, and it could just be smiling at someone. Everyone is dealing with so much. They're all dealing with their own challenges. And so I'm typically a very happy and very positive person. I think that's the inner cheerleader in me that continues on. And I just know I can change someone's day just by smiling at them. Honestly,
just being
smile.
kind.
And listen, they don't smile back. That's okay. They're going to remember a smile, and it will hit them, eventually. But
it's amazing how many people you'll find out that will be moody, and you can be moody back, or you can be like, oh, by the way, you look so nice. Well, thank you so much for helping me, and immediately,
absolutely,
they change. Yeah.
Like whenever a client calls me, right away I'm like, hey, they're like, hi, like you, and they could be the most serious people, but I don't want them to have it be serious all the time. We can have some fun. Like, I'm very good at my job. I'm very professional. You'll always get, I always try to do the right thing with my clients. If they're doing something wrong, I'll tell them. If they're doing something right, I'm going to tell them. But it's good to be positive, and just also with connecting people, just, again, it's not asking for anything in return. I hate when people say, oh, if you connect me with this person, we'll give you, a little like something on the side, or maybe a little commission or a little percentage. And I go, absolutely not. I don't want anything in return. I'm helping people connect. And that's it. That's all
what goes around comes around.
Exactly. And I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to create a kinder world where people are happy and they connect and we're doing things for each other.
But not everyone is like that. I can't say not many, but not everyone.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes people get shocked with like, really, you don't want.
I've had people insist, like, no, let us, like, if you share this link, I'm like, I don't want anything in return. Like, I have no problem sharing something that makes sense for, I don't know, what's a good example? Just like, if you share like, oh, like, I love this restaurant, you share like a reservation link and they were able to get, but like, again, like, I don't want anything.
Then they're happy,
No, I just have a good meal, like, have a great meal, enjoy it, and we move on. And I don't want anything in return. I just want to help. And that's it. You move on.
I love that. Yeah. Right. Bonus question.
Oh,
So I've
man.
asked you loads of questions. To be honest, I could ask you 100 more, but I will leave this one to chance. This is from the team at the hotel.
Oh, really?
So I don't know what they ask. I don't know what goes in here.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Nothing's X-rated so far.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What's a fun fact about yourself that most people don't know? And it's from Mary Chanzelli.
Mary, my PA, who's in this room.
So what's a fun fact about yourself that most people don't know? Oh my gosh. It's like one of those questions where it's like, tell us something about yourself.
And then afterwards, like tonight, you'll be in bed and just go, oh, I should have said.
I always say I should have said that. And then I never.
It's a tough one.
Fact about yourself that most people don't know. I mean, the cheerleader thing, how I grew up, almost like competitive cheerleading. But then people are like, no, we get that about you. You're super positive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty much the fun fact is that I'm an open book. You know, you can ask anything about me and you can, fun fact about yourself that most people don't know.
Maybe something more about your character, because everyone would see you as a bubbly, outgoing.
I think that
like,
I am.
Maybe you like TV nights that they're like, no,
gosh.
or like you could.
Well, having a baby now.
Oh my
god! Well, I will say that having a baby now, having a 10-month-old baby, there is zero sleep. I mean, I love my baby, but he is up all night, and so I think that some people actually didn't know I gave birth. Actually, that's a fun fact because. I was pregnant and I had just started the company. I was on my 2 or 3 year, momentum, and some clients of mine, they questioned my ability and they even said, oh, like, you're pregnant. Why didn't you tell us? Or what's going to happen? Where we're from, we take off for a year, or where we hired you for you. And so it actually was very surprising and challenging. And I was shocked. And so the one client that actually had done that to me, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm pregnant, or I'm not going to tell anyone when I give birth. And I literally had given birth on a Friday, and I went back to work on Monday pitching celebrity sightings and hotel, openings and destination news. And just, it wasn't until a few months later that my clients were like, did you give birth yet? And I was like, yeah, a couple of months ago. And they were like, we didn't know. I'm like, well, because I didn't want you guys to, I
think that I can't do my job.
Can't do my job. And we talked
isn't
about
that depressing as a woman that that you have to hide that or pretend that you're something you're not, which you're still the same you and you still love your job, but you're a mummy.
I mean, my husband was the best. I mean, when we came back from the hospital on Saturday night, and it was Saturday and then Sunday, my husband, because he knew how determined I was to prove everyone wrong, he literally brought my office into the main room of our house, set up shop, and there was the bassinet and everything was set up because he knew I was going to be hopping back and forth. Back and forth. He wanted me to slow down. He wanted me to take a break, but he also knew that I didn't want to also. And I didn't know. It was my first time being a mom, and I really wanted to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any help, no family members close to us, and we just kind of were winging it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. I've been there as well.
Yeah, it's tough. People
it's doable with the first. The second, it gets harder.
Than the third.
Because you've got the one that needs you and doesn't just sleep or needs to be fed or needs, then it's a bit.
Yes. So that was tough. And it was tough because also it was women. And it was
women are often more critical than men.
People from my heritage also, which was very frustrating. I was just like, aren't we supposed to support each other? Aren't we supposed to not question it? And it's crazy because the opportunities, the minute I was about to give birth, I was just getting new business after new business new business after new business. And I was like, okay, the baby was born July 19th. People are like, can you start August 1st? I'm like, yeah, I guess I can. I mean, I couldn't stop it. It just this faucet that turned on. It was like my good luck charm in a way. It was
really, meant to be.
Yeah, it was, and I've kept all the clients, which is really great. Everyone is super happy. I'm really thankful that now the business comes in now as more organic. I'm not so much cold calling. I mean, the first year I was really hustling. I was telling everyone, I have my own company. This is what I do. can we work together? Or do you know anyone? And it was.
But you see, that's what we're saying. It pays back when you're genuine. Like, I'm going to help you. I'm just going to be a good person.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you my knowledge, show you my capabilities, and I don't want anything. And then that ripple effect and the word of mouth.
Yeah. It's the best, working at all these agencies, they give you all these incentives. You get new business, you'll get a percentage of it or whatever the case is. And I remember I was never really taught how to do new business at these agencies because
that's marketing and sales, and people often get them confused.
Exactly.
And then they say, I think it's Ricky Gervais said, sales is bad marketing.
Yeah.
And so if you do your marketing right, you don't need to do sales.
And I remember I didn't know like how to even do it. And I was like, how are people getting all this business and all this, all this stuff? But cold calling never worked for me. Never did. It was, I got one client. Okay, great. And then that kind of turned into another client. And then that turned into 3 clients, 4 clients, and then it kept moving. So I always say also, again, just try to connect with as many people as possible, talk to as many people. I never say no to a meeting. I have a friend and she goes, I won't leave the house unless I know I'm going to land a deal or make money. Go, that's insane. How are you going to live?
And also,
like
how
that?
do you grow and how do you learn? Because that's, I don't know. It's like saying, I'm
selfish.
only going to talk to people who are certain intelligence or certain net worth. Or no, you can learn so much.
So much.
You can have a meeting that doesn't transcend into a contract or a client, but you'll learn what people are looking for. You'll learn what you're capable of. You'll learn what you want to do, what you don't want to do. There's so much you can learn all the time.
And it's a long game too. I'm more about the long game. I feel like easy come, easy go.
Or someone might say, no, I'm not interested. But 6 months later, they'll be talking to someone.
Later.
Yeah. And they'll say, but I know someone who's good for that.
Full circle moment. I worked at a PR firm, let's call it 2012. It was working with a bunch of hotels that were opening in Manhattan. I wasn't directly on the team, but I was always helping because I was in the fashion division. I was like, I just want to get into the hotel. So I was helping with all the openings. Full circle moment, 10 years later, I'm working in Miami with a real estate client, and the new chief marketing officer was the person that worked at the hotels 10 years before and totally remembered me. And usually when a new chief marketing officer comes in, that means PR might be on the table for, to get cut, or to maybe they bring in who they feel more comfortable with. And she goes, well, Laura's on the team. Like, I remember from 10 years ago.
How
good.
Nice.
I was like, oh my gosh, thank gosh.
Yeah.
So you just.
And then you feel so validated, like, oh, what I did was good.
Look what I did.
Yeah,
See, you just gotta be nice and hardworking, and it will all work itself out.
I love that.
Yeah.
Laura, thank you so much. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon in Cyprus.
Absolutely.
You know where to stay.
Love me some Cyprus. So I'll definitely be back. It's always good talking to you, and thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Amazing.
Kisses.
Kisses.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it helps us more than you may realize. If you are planning on coming to visit us at St. Raphael Resort and Marina, feel free to email our reservations team quoting Hotel Talk and receive an exclusive offer just for you. We look forward to seeing you soon, hearing your feedback about our show, and producing many, many more interesting episodes just for you, our listener, and our valued guest in mind. Thank you so much, and take care.